and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The rules of procedure adopted annually to ensure a productive meeting. The select board meetings are in the public, not of the public, meaning the members of the public in attendance are entitled to the opportunity to comment, but the purpose of the meeting is for the board to be able to effectively and efficiently conduct the necessary business to govern the town. All questions and comments are to be directed to the chair, and the rules of procedure indicate that there will be 2 minutes allotted for comment from any single person on any single topic. The rules of the procedures are posted at the town hall and are available for anyone to review. Thank you.
Okay. So board members tonight, we have Bob Jones, Mike Beecher, Jessica Van Ort, Brian Crossman, Rich Hewlett, and I'm Kristen Powers, the assistant. And we have 2 people here in person who have signed in and several people online. If the person who's here via phone wishes to speak tonight, just make sure to identify yourself before you do so. And addition or deletions, I have none. Does anybody have anything that needs to be added to the agenda?
Under old business, I had sent around the proposal for the sidewalk grant, and so I hope we can add that to old business.
Okay. And then the minutes that need approval are the regular meeting minutes from April 16th.
I'll move to approve those minutes.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Any announcements?
Yes, just want to say that the bridge connecting School Street and Rupert Hill Road is going to be closed, touch and go, as of tomorrow,
As of tomorrow?
May 1st. It will be open for bus traffic in the morning and the afternoon and open again in the evening, but otherwise it will be closed throughout the better portion of the day, and the anticipated duration of the project is 1 month.
I have an announcement. This Saturday, there's going to be an event at 3 p.m. at the public library, which is funded with that MERP mini grant we got for the little IR heat cameras. And we're going to have someone from Efficiency Vermont who's going to come down and help us out with knowing about weatherization, and people can play with the cameras. There will be snacks. I'm sad that Frank wasn't here to make that announcement. Someone's in the waiting room. But it's not Frank. That's it for me.
Harley?
Did you say, did Jessica say 3 p.m.?
I did, yes. Yep, I've been in touch with Adele on it, and she's gonna get me the key.
Anything from the zoning administrator?
Nothing
She
tonight.
was not available tonight.
Yeah,
Planning commission?
not this time.
Okay. Road foreman's report.
Yes, so Damon got started. It'll be 2 weeks, 2 weeks tomorrow, and he sent an email. So the week of 4/17, when he got started, they spot graded Warren Switch Road and York raked Warren Switch Road. Also spot graded the Rupert Hill Road and a small area on Clerk. They checked the roads and put new batteries in the International and changed the grader blade teeth. They also hauled gravel to the roads and as well to the shop. And then the week of 4/22, they graded Herrickbrook Road. Nate blew the sides of the road with the tractor. They cleaned and cut brush on Herrickbrook Road. They confirmed that the calcium sprayer was working and began some cleaning in the shop. Graded and York raked Kelly Hill Road, as well as sprayed calcium on Kelly Hill and Herrickbrook. They also continued to haul gravel. And in the upcoming weeks, they're going to continue to get the dirt roads up to snuff, and they're going to finish grading Rupert Hill as well as Waite Road and Tadmer. So grading is ongoing for the highway department. I also will save the next thing for later, but that's all that I have.
Okay. Yes.
A question for Jessica. There was a planning commission meeting last week, and
Oh, there was. I forgot to write a report for it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It just slipped my mind right now. Yeah. I could give a brief verbal planning commission report. We have finished our go through of the updated bylaws and have approved the current version, and we are going to then be moving into the process of warning a hearing, both for the updated bylaws and for that bylaw repeal petition. We anticipate that will probably happen not at our next meeting in May because of the timing. It will probably be our June meeting that will end up being the hearing. But I will get back to you on that once we have the dates. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you. Everything went with Damon is up to all his background checks came back flawless, so that.
Well, fun fact on that. So the state of Vermont got back to us, and the motor, in order to obtain, well, we're learning so much. In order to obtain a motor vehicle record, I need to give a copy of my driver's license, which Julie just found out today. So that's going to happen, and we'll get that. And then
Very weird.
I don't know, but that's what they want, so that's what they'll get. And we're waiting to hear about the pre-employment.
Okay. I'm just curious about that.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else on the road foreman's report?
Do you guys have anything?
No, just that, I think Damon's a great addition to the workforce there, and very happy with what he's been doing up to this point. And I think
They had some repairs on one of the trucks, but is that all good? He brought a list.
yeah, the 5500 needs some U joints in the front end.
Okay, and Colby's still out.
Yes. Which I'll talk about that with the treasurer, because there's something that Julie and I have to do. I have it written down for later, so I'm gonna just stay on course.
Okay.
That.
You have a plan on
Sorry.
that? Okay.
Yes. They also received, a lot of their supplies have come in that have been ordered.
Okay.
So they're still just, yeah. I do know that Damon mentioned to me that he is interested in maybe taking a look at the catalog for the uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
They had ordered those long sleeve uniform shirts with the reflective bits on it, and he was interested in seeing if there was a different option. And I told him he is most welcome to look through the catalog and see if there's something that's preferential, and just to let us know. But I did just let him know that in the last discussions about the uniforms, the board had just determined that they wanted to have some sort of unity in what everybody was sporting. So he's going to look at that and get back to us.
Anything from the assessors? Town clerk's memo.
Yes. So from
Deb's joining us tonight.
Deb.
Would you like to read your memo, Deb?
Yeah, I'm just having a hard time with my fingers. So I made a phone call today to the highway guys on two things. One was an issue on Warren Switch Road, and the other was what we usually do for Green Up Day. And Julie and I talked today, and she had remembered that we leave bags at intersections and at the town garage for the town to dispose of. There's only one fleet permit for Bob to sign. I can't remember what else was on my memo. Kristen, can you remind me?
The AC units, air conditioning units.
Oh, yeah, that was a conversation that Nancy and I and Julie had about the possibility of getting rid of those, because they've been sitting there for a couple of years now, and we don't need them. we've never used them, and we were toying with the idea of putting them on Marketplace and offering them up for sale, but we wanted to run it by you guys and see what you wanted to do.
Makes sense to unload them because we don't need them anymore.
Yeah,
We
now
have, we have good air conditioning upstairs now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
we've never used them.
Right, they're brand new in a box, so.
Yeah. So do you want us to try to put it on Marketplace?
Yes, if you guys are offering, does anybody else have any question or comment about that, or?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's consensus of the board to put them on Marketplace to see what we can get for them and unload them.
Okay.
Please,
I
thank you.
can, you have any idea what we want to ask, or do you want me to just kind of look them up and see what they're going for?
Yeah, I would just, should be able to see something, get some kind of reference from one of the places that would show something regarding that, you know, what the market value is going these days, so.
Okay. We'll take care of it somehow.
And you
I
also
think-
had that the electronic speed sign on Rupert Hill Road is not working, which I can
Yeah.
relay that message. Last time it wasn't working, I just drove up and it was unplugged.
I probably could have checked that myself
No,
too. I didn't know that
I
was an
didn't-
option.
Actually, I think I was on a walk. I walked by it and I just noticed it was unplugged. So maybe I'll go out for a walk tomorrow and see, but
Okay.
if not, I can let the highway department know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. The other thing that isn't on my memo, PEG TV had come to do an analysis of how the room was going to be set up. And the fellow that did the specifications for PEG TV has left the company that he works for, and he was kind enough to not give them the specs of the room. So this Thursday, PEG TV will be back at the office with a new fellow to run the specs for getting the room set up for the equipment to be there full time. So Tom Laypool from PEG TV and then the fellow representing the company that does the installation, they will be here on Thursday, and I'll go there and do the walkthrough with them again like I did before. So does anybody have any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Deb. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Treasurer's memo.
Julie's not here. There are 2 warrants this week. Payroll is $9,326.25. Accounts payable is $25,083.64. General fund monies $20,510.27. Highway fund $12,709.91. Wastewater $988.96, and ARPA fund is $1,182.65. The next bullet says move ARPA money to general fund so that you can designate it for the intended purposes. Portion to guardrails, sidewalks, wastewater project seed money. Also, there's a note about the AC units, and that is submitted by Julie. The 2 motions are for payroll warrant 24057 for $9,326.25 and accounts payable warrant number 24058 for $25,083.64.
Well, I guess I'll move that we approve those 2 warrants, 24057 and 24058.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So I can speak a little bit to the move ARPA money to general fund bit because Julie and I have spoken about that. So April is the month when I have to, Julie and I are both the people who are responsible for reporting on our use of the ARPA funds. And this next year is going to be particularly important because by the rules of having got those funds, we have to obligate them by the end of 2024. And in order to obligate them, what we need to do is we need to have a vote of the select board. Right now, they're kind of sitting in their own separate ARPA money fund. But by the rules of how it works, we can move those monies to our general fund. And once they're in the general fund, Julie can just then designate them for the various purposes. I know that we had, when we were budgeting back in November, we talked about, she has it written down, I think it's like 50K we were putting toward the guardrails from the ARPA, and some of it was going toward the sidewalk grant, the matching for that. And then the rest of it was, a large chunk of it was for the wastewater plant. So what she and I are asking for is that the select board just make a motion to move that money, and then she can officially move it around.
Okay.
So I guess I will move that we move that we I will move that we move the remaining ARPA money into the general fund.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I will let Julie know that we voted that.
Do you know what ARPA money is?
I don't.
Oh, I can explain for Brian. During the pandemic, there was this bill that passed through the federal government called the American Rescue Plan Act. And part of that was that a bunch of just sort of free grant money went to towns and cities. And at first, there were some very specific rules about what we could and couldn't use it for. And then as time went past, they sort of opened it up. So now we are able to use this money. I think initially it was between 300 and 400,000. And we've used a bit of it for the wastewater plant and some other things. And some stormwater projects, fixing up the stormwater drains in West Pawlet. And we have to use it in the next couple of years. We have to obligate it by the end of 2024 and then use it by the end of 2026. So I've been kind of the liaison for the rules about it. So that's
And
what that was.
Last fall, Rich had an evaluation done of the guardrails in town, and what we come up with like $100,000 worth of guardrail work to bring everything in town up to speed.
Yeah.
So,
And I think we decided we could do half of that with the ARPA money, and then we could just do the other half out of our regular,
out of our new budget that
Our new
starts in
budget,
July.
yep.
So I have one more thing for the treasurer. So there is a request from one of our employees who has been having an ongoing personnel situation, that the select board write a letter acknowledging the fact that they have been out without pay but are still employed by the town. Since it has to do with payroll, I spoke to Julie about it, and her and I came up with a plan, but she suggested that the board just authorize her and I to work together on that and just to write that letter, and provide it to that employee. So I don't want to give out any personal information.
Exactly.
But that's the gist of it. And if you want some more specifics, I can fill you in, but I think everybody knows kind of what's going on. So anyway, her and I can work together tomorrow on that, if everybody's okay.
So if somebody want to make a motion to authorize Kristen and Julie to
I'll make that motion.
write a letter to cover the absence of our employee.
I'll second Rich's motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thanks. Okay. Are you ready for Bob Morlino's report?
Yes, emergency management.
So during the month of April, the approved Pawlet Local Emergency Management Plan was submitted to the Vermont Emergency Management. Bob Morlino attended the State Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting Pawlet Emergency Management conducted a mock opening of the emergency shelter at the Mettawee School on April 25th. The shelter staff set up cots for clients as well as tables and chairs for registration. The team reviewed shelter operations and documentations, and a VT alert message was transmitted on April 25th via phone to all of Pawlet to announce the bridge closure on School Street / Rupert Hill Road starting May 1st. And that's that from Bob.
That's good. Anything from Jennifer? She's not on tonight? Okay. Facilities? Anything new with the facilities? All good? Okay. Mettawee School District? There's no report from the district.
Do you have anything from wastewater?
Oh, wastewater, I skipped right over it, but no.
Oh, thank.
I haven't got anything either.
No, I haven't seen any reports come through lately.
Well, let's
They
hope it's
did
just.
pump, they did have an issue on Egg Street, I think that was a couple weeks ago. And A1 came down and pumped it, and I'm not sure if they determined exactly what it was, if there was any electrical issue or not, but I do. And that's all that I know for now. I do need to get Damon's contact information so we can give it to Jill so that they can meet and talk about cooperation if necessary.
I can send you that.
So, thank you. That's it. Older unfinished business, the gravel pit.
Yes, so, the Bob Morlino and Gary Bearline and Chris Pritchard, following their visit 2 meetings ago, reached out to 2 people, to get quotes for surveying the gravel pit, which was discussed at the last time. So those were emailed to all of you, and I also printed out copies so you had them to look at here. And they wanted you to see, one of them was much more finite, and the other one was kind of like a little bit loose depending on what went into it. So they just wanted you all to have that and take an opportunity to discuss it, and they said whatever you think you'd like to do, just to let them know, and they will continue coordinating or, you know, going in a different direction, so.
But who's this kid? Who's this kid? What's his name? Hicks. C.A. Hicks. I just know Ryan did our house and stuff. Right, so, everybody get a chance to look them over?
Is anybody familiar with either one of these companies?
I'm not familiar with CAH, but Ryan Downing worked for Ellis Spieth Engineering in Manchester, and they did work for us. They surveyed for us, and Gary's worked with him on several projects and been very happy with his work and stuff. I believe he was in charge when they surveyed our house too, but he was working for Ellis Spieth at the time. So it's
The other land surveyor is out of Pawlet. CAH Land Surveying. I was just looking up to see where they were out of. Cody Hicks, Danby Pawlet Road.
Cody Anders Hicks. Okay.
So the one thing I do like about CAH is he does have a guaranteed price of $5,100. The other one isn't quite as clean. I mean, there's some opportunity to possibly save if he doesn't have that much invested in it, but
Right. It's a $6,000 cap, so there's $900 different from
Yeah.
the max.
I mean, personally, I appreciate the slightly more detail of breaking it down in the CAH.
but he's local.
Yep.
Cody
Or
didn't ask
town.
for any help, right?
Mm-hmm.
This other guy.
I think that we should move ahead on getting that surveyed.
Do you recommend going with Cody Hicks?
That's who I would go with. For the reasons we just said.
Okay. Did he have a time frame that he would be able to complete the project? And I didn't remember seeing that.
That's the only thing that's missing here. It does not have the time frame.
Chris Pritchard brought those to me, and I think that, I feel like he said that they both were available,
Okay.
but I'm not totally confident in that. But I don't think it was one of those things that we would be waiting for an awful long time.
Okay.
I agree with that.
So Rich just made a motion that we go with Cody Hicks to survey the property of the Butternut Bend gravel pit. Does anybody want to make a second on that?
I can second that.
Is there any more discussion? The only thing we would want to do is lock down a end date, a time frame from him. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And Kristen, it looks like someone has entered the waiting room.
Jennifer?
Yeah, it's Jennifer.
Good evening, Jennifer. Did you have anything to report as a health officer tonight? Jennifer?
Sorry, I forgot unmute, I've been talking away.
No, that's okay. Do you have anything to report as a health officer tonight?
I do. There was a second report or complaint from someone in West Pawlet about a residence we've been to before where they are potentially burning trash. There's a lot of trash there. Between Dave Ricard and I went to meet with the homeowner. He wasn't home. I left him some information from the state about what's legal to burn. And then Dave Ricard went over and met with them and spoke with them. So hopefully the problem is solved for the time being.
Okay. Okay, anybody have any questions for Jennifer? No, I guess not. So, well, thank you for that report, Jennifer. Appreciate you joining us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so as far as the gravel pit goes, I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago that the state, or maybe even 6, I think it was that the state was looking at doing that satellite station. And the guy that we talked to then was Rob Faley, but I don't even know if he works for the state anymore.
So that the Greg, who was here last week or last meeting
From
with
Rutland
Rutland
Regional.
Regional. So he emailed me, letting us know that he connected with the Agency of Transportation regarding the potential siting of a new facility on Route 30. They're doing some digging on their end to figure out the current status of that project. There's been some recent turnover at the Agency of Transportation, so they need to confirm whether or not the project is still actively being pursued. No answer for now, but hopefully I'll have one for you in the select board in the next few weeks. So
Okay.
I could let him know that Rob Faley was the person that we had been working with.
I'll try
but I'm
and
not-
find some of my old emails, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 6 years ago.
It was when I was here,
Okay, so
so maybe, but I remember that was being discussed.
maybe
but
it was
at
only
that,
3 years ago. I don't know.
I've been here for.
Seems like it was close to a.
I think it might have been like
Gotcha.
6, but I think I remember that the town had thought that they didn't really want to give up the use of that space. Do you remember that, Bob? Because we wanted to maintain, or
no,
like
I
there
was
was some,
thinking-
remember there was something that we were
I
holding
was
on
thinking
to?
a couple of members of the select board felt that it was worth more than the state wanted to pay.
Yeah, it was kind of insulting.
That's what I know.
Okay.
Because when I
remember there was
talked
a
to the guy
reason.
that was in charge for purchasing the land, and I put out what the
Right.
select board had discussed, and he said, no way.
Yeah,
In my opinion, I think if they're not willing to pay a huge sum of money, I think we just be pigeonholing ourselves. There's only 12 acres up there, and if some point we want, could potentially expand up there, for the
Right,
town.
there's other.
I'm not sure what we'd gain by having a state there. They'd have their own salt pile, they'd have their own sand pile, it's not like we'd be sharing aggregates.
Right.
I think we'd be giving up too much unless they really came with a number that we couldn't
Yeah.
refuse. I can't think of what we'd gain by having the state there.
But the whole point is the state felt that they would gain better road maintenance in the area because it's so far to get from any shed to this area.
they came and did a presentation and told us that this stretch of Route 30 is the least maintained portion in the entire state because it's the furthest away from any sort of state sheds. So they had thought that putting something here would help with our state road maintenance.
It's at the end of 3 different routes.
Right.
That's
So-
Dorset.
So they just weren't willing, they just didn't want to pay much for it, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Like a donation type?
No.
It was probably we wouldn't consider what they were offering was not even something to consider.
And was it just a place to store aggregates, or did they want to shop as well?
They wanted to potentially, I'm sorry, Mike, but they wanted like one end of the building, couple bays
To house a truck.
to consider to house the trucks, and they would send guys here, drivers here, and they could start their route from here in snow. There would be a little bit to gain, but the fact is whether you start on the other end or start on this end to do the entire loop, when they start from Manchester and come up and turn around and go back, we get double cover. We get both sides of the road plowed when they get here. If he heads out from here and goes to Manchester, you get one side plowed, and you'd have to wait till the truck came all the way back to get the other side plowed. So I don't know if you really gain. But we're at the end of the Wells route, we're at the end of the Middletown route, and we're at the end of the Manchester route. The three of them all congregate between Pawlet Village and Blossom's Corners. So we are the last to get attention, but I wasn't real enthused on what they offered. It was I thought it was kind of a slap in the face.
But that was discussion that had been talked about in quite a while. So. Anything else under old or unfinished business?
Well, there is,
Yes, the sidewalk grant.
Yeah, the sidewalk grant, although I just remembered while we were talking about this, that there is something that I should have mentioned probably under highways. So I've been talking to Ethan Pepin from Rutland Regional Planning Commission about how we would need to move forward if we wanted to make that change in the West Pawlet intersection, the one that was suggested in the master plan that we did. And he's been in touch with V-Trans, and even though it's a town road, and so as far as the road goes, we can basically do what we want, as far as I can tell, because, we have to fix it, right? But, however, because it would involve part of it would be in the right-of-way of the rail trail. So V-Trans does have an interest in the, in what we would want to do at that intersection. So they want, there is a site visit, they just want to come out and look at it next Monday at 11:30 a.m. And the people who are coming out is Ethan Pepin from Rutland Regional Planning Commission. William Gray works with the V-Trans for the rail trails. And I don't know if everyone else is coming out or not. They also CC'd Peter Pochop and Kevin Claremont, who I think both are with V-Trans. So I am planning to meet them on Monday at 11:30. I didn't know if there was somebody, if one of the road liaisons wanted to also be involved. I don't know, did you want to be there, Rich?
Sure, I can be there. I just have to be reminded.
Okay, yeah, shall I send you an email reminder? Okay. Because I think it would be great, because I'm kind of coming at it from the funding and grant aspect. It would be great if someone who had a little more knowledge about the roads was also able to be there to talk to them about that. So I will.
Or even just a simple text would probably be more helpful.
Okay, text. I'm pretty certain that I've texted you before. So,
Occasionally I don't get emails.
yeah. I'm the other way. I occasionally don't get texts. So yeah, so we can just, it's just an initial, looking at what are the options, like would we have to do a scoping study or not? Would we want to get money from the state or not? So that's just kind of an initial meeting for that.
When did you say it was?
May the 6th, that's next Monday at 11:30. And we can't really have more than two select board members go there, or it would be a meeting. So if Rich and I go, that would be great. And yeah, and that'll be just at that intersection in West Pawlet. All right, moving on to the sidewalk grant. Ryan, have you heard about the sidewalk grant?
I've heard some, yeah.
Okay, something about the sidewalk grant. Okay, so this is the grant that we applied for. The total grant is $500,000. Fuston O'Neill, who worked with us on the scoping study and then helped us write the grant, had budgeted $64K for the engineering. Turns out, we've been through a couple iterations here, that was wildly inaccurate. No one will do this engineering for us for less than $100,000. So we have, I've been working with Stephanie from Rutland Regional Planning Commission and Peter Pochop from V-Trans, and we've been through a couple iterations now, and we have got a proposal from that first, the same people at the very beginning, VHP, who had given us a pretty nice proposal, but when we first got it, we were like, this is above budget. They've actually been able to slim back their budget a little bit for this new iteration for us. And so I don't know if you were able to look at what I sent around, or if you want me to pull it up so we can look at it. What do you think?
I didn't have an opportunity.
All right, I'll pull it up. We can look at their proposal. Let me just share my screen
I cruised
here.
through it very
Okay.
quickly today, but
Yeah,
it looked like something that was more doable.
It was definitely more doable. The bits that okay. Yep, they can now see my. The bits that I'll pull up here will be, I'll go to their fee and also to their, the schedule that they would be doing. I'll just skim through the scope of work here. The notable thing is that they've pretty much decided that they wouldn't want to put a load-bearing sidewalk over the bridge, because that was kind of a sticking point in the previous proposals, was that they'd have to do at least $20,000 worth of testing on the bridge, because the records on like how much weight it will bear are not up to snuff. So we decided just, that it would be fine if we did some kind of thing that would protect pedestrians, but doesn't involve putting weight on the bridge. And there's lots of options for that. Okay, here is the project schedule. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger for folks. There, nope, it went sideways. Okay, we'll make it a little smaller. Okay, There we go. So we would start in June of this year, and then by fall of this year, we would have a local concerns meeting and alternatives presentation. Now, we kind of did part of this already with the scoping study, but this would be much more specific with their presentation about the different options for how they could do a non-load bearing sidewalk across the bridge, and also for the exact materials and the exact engineering stuff for these sidewalks and crosswalks. And just to remind everybody, this is for a crosswalk, probably with rapid flashing beacons, if we can get V-Trans to sign off on it, which we want, across Highway 30, right on the south side of the bridge. And then sidewalks of some kind across the bridge and then another little crosswalk over to the post office. And then a sidewalk that runs up 133 as far as the church parking lot, and then a crosswalk across the church parking lot. So that's basically the gist of what we're looking at here. I think it's about 300 feet of sidewalks and 3 crosswalks. So then you can see how they will go through their conceptual plans, their preliminary plans. The longest thing, honestly, is the right-of-way plans and acquisition process. And I spoke this morning, or yesterday, with Stephanie and Peter, and they just wanted me to make sure that everyone knew as far as any right-of-ways that we would have to get, easements for, that the town lawyer would have to write those up and send them out and take care of that. So that's not covered in, they have templates and they could help us out with it, but as far as actually doing any easements, that the getting of the easements for any private property would be on the town to take care of that.
I think there's only one.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking about that, and it just
house.
Down 133, there might be that one house that we might have to get an easement for, but everything else should be, I think, within the state right of way. What about the post office? Is that privately owned? So we might.
It's rented, right?
Yeah.
Right, but you're not gonna go on to the post office.
You won't go that
property.
far.
No, it would just be the crosswalk.
I think it's just that red house right on the mill
Yeah.
pond, which I think is Gibbs.
Yeah, the other thing would be that there might be a couple temporary right-of-ways we might have to get for when they do the construction. If while they're constructing, they have to go a bit onto someone's property or do a bit of grading because of the slope. So I don't anticipate, I agree, I don't think there would be a whole lot, but they just wanted to put that bug in our ears that we would need to use the services of our town lawyer to actually draft the easements. So that takes a while, and then the construction would be slated to begin in summer of 2027. So this, obviously, the engineers would not be doing the construction, but they would be with us up until then, and I know that they have in their budget a bit of them helping us out with any questions during the construction. So that is the schedule here, and then their quote for their fee is right here. There. So they've laid it out with the hours and the cost, and you can see the grand total comes in just above 100,000. So we still are technically going to be 40K above what was budgeted in the grant. And when it comes time when we get to the point where we have the plans fully drawn up and we're looking to go toward construction, we then will have some choices to make. If the construction comes in above budget also, we'll have to decide if we want to not construct everything or if we want to pony up a little bit more money.
So the state's okay with us scaling back the project to meet the amount of money that we got?
It sounds like they would be. Obviously, we're going to have to cross that bridge when we get to it. But this this fee here is so much closer to what all of us, me and Stephanie and Peter think is reasonable than some of that previous fee that we got, which was almost double this. So,
Now,
yeah,
not to interrupt, but
go ahead.
is this just for the engineering?
This is just for the engineering.
It's too much money. Unbelievable.
It is, but nobody has come in under that.
And the state expected it to be 60,000?
The state did not. Fuss and O'Neill, who wrote the grant for us, expected it to be 64,000. And they wrote that grant for us in 2022. So that,
And what did their quote come
their
in?
quote came in at about 180.
180?
Yes. Which is why this is seeming a little, even though this is more than I anticipated when we started this whole project, this is much more reasonable. And let's see. I mean, I hear you, Rich. It sounds like a lot to me, but I don't think we are going to be able to do it for less. Let me just check and see what they will do for us during the construction services. So yeah, they will provide limited assistance during the construction phase to answer design questions that come up. They will also review for conformance any required contractor submittals. They, in this budget is 3 visits to the project site during construction. And they will also, when we do the bids, they assume we will administer the bidding process, but they will answer technical questions and will do a bid analysis of the bids provided by the town and make a recommendation to us. So, yeah. The process that V-Trans requires is considerably more detailed than what you would necessarily do for engineering if you weren't going through a grant process. So,
And can you just remind us how much the grant was for?
the total grant is 500,000. So this would be about 1/5 of the total grant.
And what was the match on it?
The match is 20%.
Okay.
So, and we're doing that with the ARPA funds.
Right.
So about 100,000 is going to be the town's match.
Okay.
And just to remind everybody, one of the main reasons behind doing this, other than that pedestrian safety at this intersection is very important, is also that V-Trans, everybody who's been on the board longer than me, correct me, but V-Trans has been pretty specifically unwilling to let us lower the speed limit, right? Yeah. We've asked them to lower the speed limit around this dangerous intersection, and they haven't been willing to. And they have suggested that if we made some improvements to calm the traffic and to make it safer for pedestrians, they might then reconsider. That was the impression I got, so.
So I just have a question. Of that 100,000, just for the engineering, what piece of that is the town responsible for? 20,000?
20,000.
20,000.
Yep.
So then we get that done. And then we've got to get prices, right?
Then we gotta get prices, yeah, then we put it out to bid for construction.
Assuming that we're going to get somebody to come in at the price that that firm that we hired put together, correct? There's so many unknowns here that we have to move ahead with just to get to the next step.
Yeah. It's a longer process than I'd thought going in, and there are a lot of unknowns. I mean, my main concern as a person who lives on the other side of Highway 30 from here is that I would love to see a crosswalk. And we can't just put in a crosswalk without having compliant sidewalks on either side of the crosswalk, according to V-Trans. So, and the sidewalk down to the church parking lot would be very helpful for people who want to park there and then come down to Max. So, I think that it's a project that's worth doing, and since it's with grant money, the town is not out as much, and our match is with the ARP funds, so it's unfortunate that it cost this much, but I don't think we're gonna find a better deal. That's my piece.
How much ARPA funds do we have that we can spend on this?
We had said we were gonna do the whole match.
The $100,000 in
Yep.
ARPA funds?
Yep, and then we were gonna put the 50,000 toward the guardrails.
Mhm.
And then whatever's left from that, which I think is about another 100,000, we were having as the seed money for the wastewater
For
project.
wastewater
Yeah,
projects, okay.
because we honestly have not spent a whole lot of those funds, comparatively, so.
Harley?
I have a couple of questions. Was there any opportunity to confront Fuss and O'Neill saying they spent money on this initial conceptual study and came up with an estimate of 64,000? Then when they were asked to bid for the work, came up with an estimate almost 3 times as much? Somebody should have been chastised for the job they did.
To Harley's comment there, Stephanie and I and Peter, when we met, definitely had some words to say to each other about it. She, being our grant manager for this, Stephanie from Rutland Regional Planning Commission, did get back to them and diplomatically asked them what was the reason why it came in so much more than what they had initially said. And their answer was pretty much, oh, we did that a while ago and now time has passed. But they did it in 2022.
Yeah.
And that was 2023. And so they did not have a good answer.
Is this bid here firm fixed price or cost plus?
Let's see. I don't quite know what those two things refer to, but here's what we've got. We've got the direct labor cost, the overhead,
Oh,
and the
yes,
fee.
they have details, but is this what they're going to stick to no matter what? Because the timeline goes so far into the future.
We haven't drawn up a contract yet. So if the select board decides tonight to accept this proposal, the next step is to draw up a contract.
I see. Well, usually firm fixed price or cost plus is mentioned somewhere in the bid,
Okay.
but not that
Yeah,
it needs
I
to be
didn't-
found.
I
but
didn't see
firm-
whether it was one way or the other. But there are
Cost
many
plus
points.
is more risk.
Yeah, there are many points where they mention that if additional things need to be done, that they have a set of assumptions. Let me go back up to those just a moment. And in their series of assumptions, it discusses if things are different than what the assumptions are, that there will be additional supplemental agreements required. Like, for example, here, we have VHB has not included structural detailing as part of this contract. Shall bridge retrofits to accommodate pedestrian traffic be required? VHB can provide the appropriate structural services under a supplemental agreement. So so under those assumptions, they list all the things that they aren't doing, and that if they needed to do them in the future, it would be supplemental.
And finally, the timeline is very stunning. I haven't looked up the Hoover Dam, but it does remind me of how long that took.
I was very surprised when I first heard that it would take that long as well.
I lied. Is there going to be any physical barrier on the bridge for the pedestrian?
There will need to be some kind of physical barrier.
So-
Yes,
so-
yeah, when we talked with Peter from V-Trans, his main concern is that there needs to be pedestrian safety. So whatever goes on the bridge will have to provide pedestrian safety. We talked a little bit about potentially bollards. That could be an option, and I'm sure there are one of the firms had mentioned there being options where there is some sort of sidewalk, but the weight is anchored on either side of the bridge rather than being on the bridge itself. Like, I don't understand how that would work, but I'm not an engineer.
Right.
So.
It's another bridge.
I think
Thank
that's
you.
how that would work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think bollards would probably be fine, honestly.
So the other thing, if Fuss and O'Neill were grossly underestimated this, then there's a very good chance that they grossly underestimated the construction cost too.
There is a chance. I mean, I know that when they did the grant, they figured in an additional, I forget if it was 10% or 15% for inflation, but there is that chance. I mean, my personal feeling in that case is, let's get the crosswalk across 30 and the safety things on the bridge, because it is kind of dangerous to walk across the bridge when there's big semis coming around, and just do as much sidewalk as we can afford with what we've got.
So right now, we have this proposal
Yep.
that we can pay for with ARPA funds, and we can pay for the anticipated cost of this whole project with ARPA funds,
Yep.
as long as the cost of the project stays within the.
Within the 500,000.
Okay.
If it does go above that, we might be able to apply for additional grant funding, but then the match of it would be, we would have to budget the match from our highway budget.
Rich?
So, this is just my thought. I think that we got tons of places we could spend the ARPA funds. I mean, really, there's roads, guardrails, just infrastructure, town barn. So, I mean, we could spend that on something that we really, really need right now as well. I'm not saying that we don't need the crosswalk, but to spend 20,000 of that ARPA fund right now to the engineer and not even know that we've gotten a price from somebody that's affordable seems like a waste of $20,000 in my mind. If we knew we were going to spend that $20,000 and there was a contractor lined up to come in and do that project, then okay, that wouldn't be a waste of 20 grand in my mind. But I mean, that's just my thinking. I think their prices are way out of control for that. I mean, how much did you say there was? How many feet of?
300 feet of sidewalk.
Let me see, was it 300 or was it 500?
It wasn't.
You
How
said
much
300.
material goes into a crosswalk?
Yep.
I'm picturing paint,
1,500 a foot.
really, in a crosswalk. Maybe a sign on either side.
The plan was to have those flashing, but those are to be determined. Those, like, the ones that you see with the flashing.
Like they have in Manchester.
V-Trans
Along
isn't
here
sure
too, I
if they
think, along Route 30.
support that in this
Right.
area. But yeah, it seems like in terms of
300
construction,
feet of
there's only sidewalk
Just the engineering cost.
Well, right.
really going up 133 there from the
Let
intersection
me
to
see
the
if I can
church.
find the exact amount. Yeah, the main sidewalk would be going up there.
And ironically, they'll probably have one contractor that
Yeah, paint.
can do
Is
the work.
V-Trans, Jessica,
It
do you know,
meets
is
the
V-Trans
state specs,
responsible for the
Because it's a
upkeep
state
of the
grant.
crosswalks? Do you
V-Trans
recall
would-
that?
V-Trans would be responsible for the upkeep of the road like they are now.
But I mean, like the repainting of the crosswalks.
I would think so because
because it's
they,
in there right
I mean,
away.
didn't they repaint the bit on the corner?
That was out of the kindness of their heart.
Now, would the homeowners be responsible for the sidewalk?
The town the town is responsible for the sidewalks.
The road crew?
Once the sidewalks are put in, we have to maintain them and upkeep them.
And this is, I think, what I remember from that the presentation that they did, is that the town would be responsible. And then if the town, I think right now, the sidewalks that we currently have going up Route 30, those are the responsibility of the homeowners, which is why when you go by, like, some are completely under, lots of years of dirt and grass, and some are maintained. They're nearly non-existent. Some people unearth them every year, but I think that is something that the town then can determine how they want to handle the maintenance of them. But I do recall that question about, like, in the winter time, we have those sidewalks, and then how do you make sure that those are cleared?
I just want to say that I think it is too much money also, but I am strongly in favor of us going ahead with it anyway. because we need something at this intersection. We've gone through such a process to try to figure out how to do something. And if we do nothing, the intersection is not going to get any better. It's going to continue to be just as hazardous as it is. And eventually something's going to happen, and there's going to be an accident, and it's not going to be great. And so I think this is the best bid we're going to get. And our decision at this point is either to scrap the whole thing. I mean, we already accepted this grant, but we could probably tell V-Trans we want to not do the grant after all at this point. But I am strongly in favor of doing it. I hear the issues about cost. I think it would be worse to not go ahead and try to improve this intersection. I wish the state would just do it, but they dropped the ball, and it's on us. That's my piece.
Harley?
To Rich's point, is there a way to burn down the risk by finding a contractor to give it the once-over and say, what is your opinion about these kinds of projects, what they typically involve, and can it be done for the money remaining on the grant, the just under $400,000, to burn down the risk so that we don't put $100,000 into it and then find out we could put a crosswalk in. Also, how is the bridge plowed if there's physical barriers? I don't know in the winter.
I think that as far as finding out about how much a project like this might cost, if the select board wanted me to, I could try to get with Stephanie from Rutland Regional Planning Commission and see if she can come up with something like that. She is our grant manager for this, and she has worked with a lot of other projects with other towns and with the construction. So she's given me pretty good numbers throughout, which is why she knew that these that number in the grant initially was wildly out of sync with what people are charging now. But she might be able to contact some construction companies and find out.
And I think the construction company's gonna want a set of plans to really feel confident. on
Yeah,
giving a
that's
number,
the
you
trick.
know.
You know, they're going to need to see the engineering plans to know for certain how
They
much.
could probably come up with some rough.
I'm not in favor of narrowing up the bridge at all. I think it's already tight with the corner and the intersection and everything. Maybe with a small car, it's easy to cross, but with tractor trailers or farm equipment or anything of any size, it's hard when you're meeting traffic on the, and the state can't even fix the culvert that's collapsed in the middle of the intersection up there that is creating a hazard right now on a daily basis. That's just been filled in. Cars are dodging it, people are dodging it, and it's creating a hazard on a daily basis. So I'm all for the crosswalks. I'm not for adding any obstacles to the bridge. I'm all for putting a bike path, having the state put a bike path along 133, which would double as a sidewalk, and it would get plowed by a snow plow.
Yeah, our
And
crew doesn't
our
have time
town
to
crew wouldn't have to maintain it. If you step up and do a separate sidewalk back 8 or 10 feet from the blacktop, it's not gonna get plowed, it's not gonna get shoveled, it's not gonna get sanded. Somebody's gonna slip and fall on it, they're gonna be suing us, they're gonna be calling the town crew to come shovel their sidewalk. The extra 3 foot of bike path that the state added to a lot of roads works great for a walking path too. And we wouldn't have to pay for it at all. Our tax dollars would pay for it, or the $400,000 could do quite a bit of paving at 3 foot wide, so.
Looks like Deb has her hand up.
Deb?
Yeah, Jessica, I have a question with regard to, if you don't do the project and you forfeit the grant, is it possible to ask the grant manager if there's any repercussions on future grants if we are awarded a grant and we forfeit it?
I could certainly ask her that. I haven't brought that up with her. I mean, she and I have had a little bit of a conversation of, if we weren't able to find someone to do the engineering, what would happen then?
Yeah, because I mean, we went through all the effort to get the grant, and not everybody gets awarded grants. And I know that several years ago, probably we're talking 10 years ago now, we had gotten a grant for something and we didn't use it. And I just don't know what kind of impact that has on applying for and being awarded future grants. That would be my concern with not, I mean, the extra money, of course, yes. I mean, $104,000 is a lot of money, but also getting the grant and then not utilizing it, there may be some repercussions there too.
That is certainly something that I could ask her. And also, the thing is, we have used part of the grant money because we are paying our grant manager. Rutland Regional Planning Commission, Stephanie has done work for us so far with getting all of these proposals. She's been the go-between person. I've had a meeting with her several times, but she's been the one who has been contacting all of these firms and also contacting VTrans. So we have used some of the funds.
I just have
Okay.
a
Thank you, Jessica.
question. So
Kristen?
my curiosity is that since where we're at now is so vastly different from where we were led to believe we would be based on all of the guidance that we received up until this point, I'm wondering if Stephanie might have any, or maybe you've already talked to her about this, and any sort of suggestions or opportunities. I know that the state is very specific on the project, but opportunities to sort of rework it given the fact that the numbers that we have been provided are nearly triple. Some of them, have been triple what we were pitched,
Right.
So I think that Deb has a good point about making sure that we hold up our end of the bargain, but at the same time, on the flip side, their end of the bargain has greatly changed as well.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I know that there are so many little specifics and nuances about the whole grant process, but
And the whole VTrans process has been very frustrating because they have this certain set of things that you have to go through.
yeah.
But I mean, ideally, I would love it if there was a way that we could scale back the project to mostly just get the crosswalks.
And I'm wondering if there's any way that we can have that conversation with them, which I understand you've been putting in so much work on it behind the scenes, and I know how that feels.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy process to be able to do the back and forth in communications, and they're very specific. But I wonder if there's a way that we can somehow meet in the middle with them, because a large part of, I think, what's driving all of this is this whole idea about the bridge. And I seem to remember the presentation was not so much because we had these concerns about narrowing the bridge down, and really it's maintaining that same footprint where everybody stands with their signs, and looks over. That will really be the same, just instead of cross hatching, there would be some bollards kind of, or whatever. Is bollard the right word?
I think
Whatever.
that's what I've heard.
Something. Barrier. So I wonder though if we could ask them, hey, listen, this has become so different than what we were anticipating. Is there any way that we can re-envision it a little bit? Because
I wonder if what we could do is not take an action on this proposal at this meeting, and instead see if we can get Stephanie and Peter to come to our next select board meeting. And then we can all just talk to them, because instead of just me trying to relay this back and forth and coming at it mostly from my own perspective, if they could be here to talk to all of us and hear everyone's concerns and what we really, really want to get out of it and what we don't, we might be able to come to some sort of some sort of agreement in the middle. That might be the best path forward.
I like that idea. Then we can see if we can find out, and then we
Find
can
out if
also.
there's any penalties.
Yeah,
Yeah, they can give all the specific, the straight answers.
exactly.
I think that's a great idea.
We can bring up these other options, like Bob said about, you know, the bike path and what exactly would have to happen on the bridge,
Yeah,
and if she has any opinion on
Okay.
whether or not a project of this size would still be able to be pulled off with the amount of money for construction. Yeah.
Yeah, and just if we can have a little bit more, if we can eliminate some of the unknowns.
yeah,
Because what I'm hearing is that that's a huge part. I mean, there's so much money involved, and it feels like a lot of risk, which it is. So if there's any possibility that we can eliminate some of the unknowns and have a little bit more, clarification, I think that would be really helpful.
I'm trying to
Making
picture farther
decisions.
down Route 30, and I can't picture anything on any of the bridges that are similar to our intersection.
yeah.
You know, you talk about Jamaica, right, Townsend, Newfane. I don't picture any obstructions on the bridges whatsoever. In the village like that.
Well, it sounds like what we need to do is I'll message Stephanie and say that we haven't made a decision yet and that we really want to be able to talk to her and Peter and get some more details and see what we can do. Okay, coming to next meeting.
Okay. That's great. I
I will
appreciate
do that.
we appreciate all your effort you're putting into this.
Yeah,
but
it's been frustrating. I want to see a crosswalk at some point.
Right now we're doing a project in Boston, and through the town, there's no way to get large vehicles through town around the intersections because it's so narrow and so tight. So they have these vertical, basically reflective white pylon. They look like a piece of pipe standing up, but when a truck takes a corner, they actually run them over and they stand right back up again because there's no way to get around. They can't have anything fixed, and those are all through the town because it's so tight. So something like that perhaps on the bridge makes more sense. So it would create a railing, but then when something can't maneuver through, they knock it down. But that's something I see on a daily basis here, so.
I mean, that might be something that we could go for then to make some more, that might be an option to make some more safety, but not make it dangerous for the
Right, it
vehicles.
would narrow the bridge up, but then if need be, to make corners and to get wide stuff through, they could.
Is there any more old or unfinished business? New business, Cemetery Association Road Assistance Request.
Yeah, so I had gotten a text message from a member of the Cemetery Association here in Pawlet, and they want to fix the road, and they had just asked if we could haul a load or so of gravel in. They'd pay for it, but just wanted to know if we could have one of our road crew members draw a load in for them. I don't know if they want SLC 3/4 crushed or if they want, the gray crushed out of Hartford. But that was a question was, hey, look, we want to fix this road. Would you guys be willing to have the road crew haul a load or 2 loads or whatever of material in? So I said that I would bring it to the board. I don't know what you guys have done in the past. So,
It doesn't seem to me like an unreasonable request for a town group. Like in the past, we've plowed or sanded fire department driveways and stuff like that for functions. The Cemetery Association is a very vital part of the town, and you said by default, if the Cemetery Association can't keep up, the town has to maintain them. So to me, it seems like a reasonable request.
It makes sense to me as well.
Okay.
I would say that the majority of the board, or the consensus of the board says that have them go ahead and have the town trucks draw whatever they,
And I'll find out what color material they're looking for. It's gonna be the same whether we go to Wallingford or Hartford,
yeah.
so.
Is there any other new business tonight? Public comment?
Harry was looking at.
Frank. Whoops.
Frank!
Oh, you snuck in with just your phone number? Oh my God, Frank.
Yeah, I'm sneaking in from another part of the world. Jessica, did you want to say something about Saturday at 3 o'clock at the library?
Yep, Frank, I mentioned that in announcements.
Yeah. You weren't paying attention. Have you been drinking?
Okay, good.
Wow.
All right, then I'll let you guys adjourn then.
Okay,
All right.
one
Thank
more.
you, Frank. Enjoy your awayness.
Oh, I'm so glad you're
All
here.
right.
I was worried about you, Frank. Okay.
Yeah, I worry about me too.
Oh my
I'm
God.
really worried about me.
What a relief. Okay. Harry
I can see
Van
his old man now laughing.
Harry Van Meter added a comment in the chat. The bridge, there's no sign on Route 315 on the Rupert side that says the bridge is closed. People are likely to drive all the way to the Rupert Pawlet line where the little makeshift sign was placed and have to turn back all the way to 315 and then around to Route 30 to get into Pawlet and beyond. So
Did they put up any signs yet at all?
Damon said that they were working on signs. I have not been
I
down
mean,
there.
Daniel, that's Daniel's
Yeah.
responsibility, right?
There's signs here.
Yeah,
On
and
School
there's
Street.
signs on Rupert Hill, is it now, Road,
But not at the beginning of,
saying, as you turn down School Street, there's signs.
yeah, but
construction.
nothing off 315.
So I had
Oh, I
talked to
didn't see
Damon
that.
about that, and he's aware of that.
Okay.
They're gonna close it in the morning, so I'd be surprised if there wasn't one put up tonight, and I'm certain there will be one put up in the morning.
Okay,
So I had discussed that with him,
okay,
so.
good.
And they won't wait and put it on the town line, they put it down on the Rupert end.
Yeah, we'll
They'll
put
have
it
to,
right
they'll
on.
Off
have
the main road,
to, they'll have
yeah.
to talk to Rupert and put it on Rupert.
And I know he's been in communications with Tom over in Rupert, so.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to discuss tonight? Hey, Bob, it's up to you.
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
A second?
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you all for coming. Have a good evening, everyone.